You don't want to wait in the ed? If you insist. Don't know for sure if this fits here, but I thought you guys would appreciate what happened tonight. For starters, I work as a security guard for one of the few hospitals in our city. Besides dealing with combative patients, visitors and doing patrols around the campus, we occasionally get asked to assist with getting people out of their vehicles and escort them by wheelchair to the emergency department, ed, or their appointment at an on-site clinic. Today, a couple of nurses came to our office, asking for our help. They had received a call from a gentleman, who we will call Gerald, asking for help to get out of their car, as he was in severe pain. I went out with the nurses, pushing a wheelchair and radioing my partner to come assist, as it sounded like it was gonna take some extra hands to help him out. It took a little bit for us to find him, but we found him thanks to him blowing his car horn for all to hear. Now, I have interacted with dramatic people before and this guy was no different. He told us all about how he was in so much pain, how he drove himself all the way over here and couldn't move the car anymore, and how he needed to be treated. We tried to offer help, but he refused to grab our arms or hands to steady himself, relying on the car door and the wheelchair to get himself in it. Once he got himself settled, he asked me to move the vehicle to a better parking spot. After all, he had handicap stickers and he needed the space to get in when he finished his visit here. So I obliged, feeling a little bit odd about the whole situation, and moved his car to a handicap spot near the ed entrance. Gerald got checked in at the ed and we were done with the situation. At least, that's what I thought. Boy, were we wrong. Not even 20 minutes later, I get told that this guy wanted to leave and wanted us to take him back to his car. Apparently, he started complaining and moaning about how the wait time was too long. Keep in mind that there were people in the waiting room who had been there for hours. The ed was very full today, and this guy couldn't stand being there for even a few minutes. I first checked with ed staff because I was worried about the fact that he himself said he couldn't drive. They told me that since they hadn't triaged him and he wanted to leave so soon, they legally couldn't hold him here even if they wanted to, which they didn't care that much since they were already busy with treating their patients. So, I went back out to the ed and asked him point blank if he was really sure he wanted to leave, because I didn't want to be held responsible in case he drove and got into an accident. But he said yes. He wanted to leave right then and right now. So, I reluctantly pushed out of the ed towards his car. This is where my malicious compliance begins. Gerald starts saying, verbatim, "When we get to my car, I'm gonna call the ambulance." Me, wait, what? Gerald, yay. Gonna call an ambulance. I can't drive and I don't like everyone here except you. They're too slow here and I'm not spending all night here. Besides, calling an ambulance will get me to a room quicker and I can get help with my pain. Me, so, you want to call an ambulance to take you to the ed when you're already here at an ED? And all that because the wait time is too long for you? Gerald, yay. Me, you realize that if you call an ambulance, they may just take you back to the waiting area and have you wait there. Right? Gerald, yay. I know that. I'm still gonna call. Me, well, okay, if that what you want to do. So, after helping the guy into his car, I decided to let him do just that. At that point, there was nothing else I could really do. After all, I'm just a security guard, not his doctor. So, I just pushed the wheelchair back inside and went about my business. About 30 minutes later, I'm looking at CCTV footage and right there, next to this guy's car, is an ambulance. My jaw dropped. The guy actually called 911 for an ambulance and they came. I continued to watch as the AMT workers helped this guy into a gurney and place him into the ambulance. Then, to my utter shock, They drove off campus. I had thought that they were going to drop him back off here. But they freaking left for another hospital? I then realized a couple of things. 1. This guy's going to another hospital and going to be gone for who knows how long. 2. When he gets discharged, he's not going to have a ride because, you guessed it, his car is over here at this hospital. Plus, our policy is that if a car's parked in our lot for a few days and we've confirmed that the owner is not here, we have to call the police and report an abandoned vehicle. So, this guy is now getting additional costs added to his medical expenses because he took the ambulance. Possibly have to wait even more in the ed of another hospital before being seen. And may rack up some fines for abandoning his car depending on how long he's there. All because he didn't want to wait in the ed with everyone else. But hey, guess 20 minutes was way too much for him. Edit. Just found out that the car was taken early this morning. So no car fines for this guy. The wait times between going to hospital in your car and going in an ambulance are the same. It's the severity of your condition that gets you through faster. Source: am an ambulance officer. My story is opposite, but I think interesting. Had difficulty breathing. Later diagnosed adult onset asthma. PCP had no appointments so told me to go to urgent care. I get to UC. I walked in. The waiting area was busy. People talking or on their phones waiting. I check in, find a seat, and sit hunched over with my head down towards my lap. I felt awful. The chatter suddenly died down. And I heard a little kid's voice ask, "Is that lady okay?" Must have freaked the staff out. BC they called my name right after that to get me to a room with an exam table to lie down on. I didn't get seen by the doc any sooner. But the other staff kept checking in. Moral of the story: people who are really sick don't have the energy to be Karens. Oh yeah, no. This happens a lot. What's fun is when they call for an ambulance from their bed. Their bed in the emergency department. I also work in the ed. You definitely see some odd people like that. Having a medically complex daughter means I've spent way too much time at our usually to check her shunt hydrocephalus. I remember, a year or so ago some older, obviously very rich lady came in by ambulance. Arm in a cheap makeshift sling. But otherwise she was aided ambulatory. She had her adult daughter with her. It was a particularly busy day, since we rarely have a long wait for pediatrics. Plus her needs get her a bed ASAP. So we were just watching the people. It was obvious this lady assumed the ambulance. And her wealth, dressed very nicely, was going to get her gold star, silver platter treatment. After about 15 minutes of waiting quietly she starts in with loud moans. A younger woman would have probably added in some tears. Anytime she thought a nurse even glanced her way she moaned louder. I don't think the nurses bought it. Lol, tears of joy. All of our hospital's phones go to the hospital police if you dial 911 from an inside line. Drives patients crazy. Plus, he now has a hefty ambulance ride fee. I work at the only level 1 trauma ER in the state. Sure, you can always have more nurses, staff. But we normally have only 2 to 5 patients per well-educated caring RNs even when full. Not too many for each to receive great care. All arrivals, walk-ins and by ambulance, are triaged immediately and assigned an acuity for treatment. But for traumas assessed by EMTs before arrival that get top priority. The problem are folks who use the ER as their PCP, or could go to urgent care, or are drug seeking. These are the folks who clog up the waiting room and who are confrontational, rude, demanding and make others wait longer. The very sick and injured do not act that way. But, still, all get treated timely, just not fast enough for some. Perhaps we can all learn a lesson here and ensure we, and friends, family, use the appropriately. I waited 14 hours in A&E after I had a seizure. Blacked out, and banged the back of my head on the parking lot. I only was able to get a bed because I disclosed to the nurse in charge that my mania is triggered by lack of sleep, and I almost vomited on her desk too. They got a bowl to me just before one started vomiting. I waited about 11 hours when I had a highly infectious disease that's rare in adults and I'm immunosuppressed. They had to wait because I needed to be isolated. Waiting 3 or 4 hours would have been a dream. Dear patients waiting, we will treat you in order of medical urgency. For increased medical urgency for faster treatment, please insult the security personnel. Quote, I'm loving this. I would love to have heard him when he realized they were taking him somewhere else. Gotta hit him the chest pain, tears of joy. I work at the hospital too. You truly see it all. Cheers, thanks for your work. Security can truly be a lifesaver. Especially in ed. I wonder if he got diverted by the hospital once the ambulance crew got in touch with them. Play stupid games. I agree. Erectile dysfunction is frustrating. I do blame him. I did the exact same thing, except I drove myself to another hospital 20 minutes away. With 0 wait time compared to the 34 hours wait I was going to have to wait and suffer in pain. They transferred all my inform from the other hospital and started getting treatment ASAP. Sounds like drug-seeking behavior combined with a drama king in a hurry. Fuck Gerald. He's everything that's wrong with 911 and healthcare. Person who has spent more time in the than out of it for their entire 20s and half their 30s due to mast cell activation disorder on top of rare and challenging genetic ailments. That time I got shot. That other time I got shot. That time I got cutaneous diphtheria. Or that time I escaped my ex-husband and found out I had anthrax. I relish the wait to a point. Oh, I'm not dying? Okay, great. As a wheelchair user whose chair is too big to haul with me to the hospital, I feel awful having to just pee because of the time it takes from someone actually dying. I knew as a child you want the wait. It sucks. Terribly. You're not dying. Things that get you to the head of the line and aren't chest pains? Not breathing. Not recommended. Being shot. Highly recommend avoiding this. Bleeding out the eyes. Not recommended. And otherwise being dead adjacent. Definitely not recommended. Anything else is a luxury trip to the spa. There's times I thought it wasn't that bad because I am used to living in abject horror apparently. And went in either on foot or close as I get, and the staff didn't let me sign in because I was going to die and was just out of it enough to not be sure. Like that time I had a cracked skull and it was visible, but I thought that was just the double vision, and my parents kept swearing I was fine, but I decided to hitchhike to the city because boy, did I have a headache. There's also a correlation between calm and proximity to dying. I learned that many times over as I seem to forget when dying and then get confused why the emergency medical staff are rushing about so much. It's fine. Really. Just a little cold or sleepy. In veterinary medicine you learn quickly to be wary of people who show no concern about the cost. Money is no object for people with zero intentions of paying the bill. There's a good chance he's just going to ignore the bills he gets from this. Especially if his credit is already trashed. Human emergency care cannot be denied regardless of the patient's ability or intent to pay. Sounds like a typical Gomer. Get out of my emergency room.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.